We are back with yet another episode of the Hardwood Combos, getting ready to talk some NBA hoops, talking the college football playoff and the madness that is ensuing in college football right now. Oh wait, this is the other podcast, the podcast I wasn't looking forward to this week. All jokes aside, back again with another episode of the Hardwood Combos. Week 14 in the
Dude, you
books.
did it twice.
I know. The last 2 weeks of football, I've just not been fantastic.
Between the Hashes podcast, we talk about the NFL and definitely don't get sidetracked every time.
Yeah, I know. Less than a minute in, and I already want to get sidetracked. But as always, joined by Braden Macon and myself, Dawson Livingston. As always, in every episode we start off, we ask everyone how they're doing. Brock Bierman not in attendance in tonight's episode. He is actually at the Cyhawk women's basketball game, which is happening as we are recording right now on a Wednesday night. But Braden, how are you doing?
I think if we were recording this last Friday, I would be a lot worse than I am right now. Brock said he was at the Cyhawk game, but I think he's actually still mourning the loss of Matt Campbell, to be honest with you. It has been a rough weekend for us, but I got all the faith I can in Jimmy Rogers. Hopefully we can keep some of the guys. I know we're already losing a lot of commitments. We're already got a couple guys in the portal. We'll see, but I know you love to see the downfall of Iowa State football.
Yeah, but as soon as I would start praying on that downfall, I feel like karma just hit me so hard on Sunday night.
As soon as you start putting the hands together, Kirk Ferentz is like, all right, I'm retiring.
Dude, I don't even want to think of that day. I know that day's eventually it's gonna come up in the next few years, but that's gonna be a crazy day.
It's that bunny with the clock. Like your time is coming, man.
Yeah.
All roads lead to Rome.
Well, it's crazy because unless you're over the age of 50, you don't. If you're an Iowa fan, you only have known Hayden Fry and Kirk Ferentz. That is just the only football coaches Iowa's had since 1978. So, when that day happens, because it will happen sooner rather than later, it is just going. I don't want to think of that day, honestly. Not after the disaster that was this weekend. But yeah, a lot of news, not just in the NFL, but the playoff had a lot of controversy with certain teams getting put in the playoffs, certain teams getting left out. But we'll leave that for the guys that discuss the college sports. But we're going to talk some NFL. We're going to start with, do you want to start with the games or some of the more recent news that came out?
Let's start with the more recent news that came out. Because actually no, let's talk about the game that led to the news. I think will be a good way to transition that.
Yeah. So the first game we're going to be talking about is Colts-Jags. Jags defeat the Colts 36-19. And the reason that this is going to be the first game we start off with is not because the Jags won by 17, although they did look okay in that game. The main reason for us starting with this game is the season-ending Achilles tear that Daniel Jones suffered in, I believe, the first or second quarter of the game?
Yeah, pretty early on. My camera angle's not right, but yeah, pretty early on. And of course, it doesn't really matter when it happens in the game. You still never want to see this stuff happen, especially for a team like the Colts, who were looking like they were primed to make a playoff push at least. And for Daniel Jones, who was having such a career resurgence, you just hate to see this type of stuff happen.
Yeah, and with the news of the most likely, I think he's already put on IR, so he's done for the year at this point. With the Achilles tear, the Colts are not fully trusting their current backup in Riley Leonard, and I believe Anthony Richardson is still hurt, so they couldn't even.
Anthony Richardson is on IR, and Riley Leonard, I think, has some sort of.
I think also got hurt
like an ankle sprain or something.
Yeah,
he's week to week. So on their roster right now, other than the news that we're going to talk about here in about 30 seconds, I think the emergency quarterback was going to be Tyler Warren. So not a great spot to be in.
Who's had some snaps at quarterback in college and high school. So
Penn State was doing something there.
They were. Hey, as soon as he left Penn State, they just kind of went into the toilet. And
Tyler Warren was the glue that held that franchise.
Yeah, not Drew Aller, not Not any of those. Not Abdul Carter. It was Tyler Warren that kept that offense together. Um, I just totally lost my train of thought. But
The moving on with the quarterback situation.
yeah, um, not the current, or I guess not the quarterback that Colts fans thought they were going to get out of retirement, but Philip Rivers. Welcome back to the NFL. 44 years old, was coaching high school football for the past 5 seasons, and now Colts give him a call out of the blue. This isn't the first time that Philip Rivers has been like asked to come out of retirement to play for certain teams. I know the Niners did it in like 2022 when Jimmy G went down. They were unsure of like quarterback injuries, and then there was one other team that I think has asked. Maybe it was the Colts again in 2021. But yeah, 44-year-old Philip Rivers is back in the NFL. Braden, what are your thoughts on this move of Philip Rivers getting signed to the Indianapolis Colts?
Of all of the options, Philip Rivers has not played football since 2020.
We were still in high school.
There were
His
not
last
fans
game.
in attendance for the
Yeah.
last season of Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers, if he doesn't end up playing this season, if he takes a snap, his Hall of Fame clock resets back to 0. If he doesn't play, he is eligible for the Hall of Fame after this year.
That
So
tells you,
playing this season is about to make him so he's not eligible till 2031.
yeah, which he'll be
He'll be
50.
yeah, 49 or 50.
Jesus. But yeah, obviously, a lot of us know Philip Rivers, the longtime Chargers great. It did spend his last year in the NFL with the Indianapolis Colts in 2020, like Braden mentioned, in the COVID year. His stats in his last season with the Colts, he had about 4,200 yards, threw for 24 touchdowns through 11 picks, was only sacked, I believe, 19 times, if I'm reading this correct. So he was like serviceable. This was in that kind of weird period from the Colts, like when Luck retired and they were just bouncing from quarterback to quarterback to quarterback. And in that, I mean, that could be a 30 for 30 in itself. The amount of quarterbacks it has taken the Colts to find their next quarterback since the retirement of Andrew Luck. But yeah, Philip Rivers potentially was on the Hall of Fame bubble, in my opinion. I don't know if he was a for sure lock to make the Hall of Fame. That's for probably another episode. Actually, wouldn't be a terrible episode. We could discuss who's on the bubble of the Hall of Fame and who should get in and who should not. But I digress. Had a decent season his last year in Indianapolis. But again, he's 5 years older than what he last played when he was 39 years old. Yeah, I'm at a loss of words. I mean, there was a lot of other guys that probably could have reached out to, but I guess that Philip Rivers knows the system, even though it's been 5 years. But
Yeah,
do you think Philip?
apparently, from what's been coming out, I guess the offense that Philip Rivers ran at his high school team was the Colts offense. So, and I guess like Philip Rivers and Shane Sykin have been calling each other a lot, like talking about game plan, watching film together. So, I like familiarity with the system might not be as much of an issue as you would think, considering that it has been 5 years since he's touched an NFL field. But still, he is 44, man.
Yeah,
Like,
I remind everyone that is a football fan or maybe even a Colts fan. So Philip Rivers just got signed and he's 44 years old. How old do you think Andrew Luck is?
I don't think Andrew Luck was ever coming out of retirement. I think he's
No,
pretty
but
locked into his spot right now at Stanford. But to answer
no,
your
but just
question, he can't be any older than like 36.
he's 36 years old. He's 8 years younger
Man,
than Philip Rivers is right now. And Philip Rivers is getting ready to, I guess he's on the practice squad right now, but it sounds like he's going to be playing either not maybe this Sunday, but in the coming Sundays he's going to be playing, which is pretty insane. I don't know, is Tom Brady even like he's probably close to 50 by this point, right?
Brady, I think, is 47.
48. Just had his 48th
48.
birthday. So only 4 years younger than Brady. And again, Brady's been out of the league for 3 or 4 years now, which is, I don't know. All this to say, this is kind of like the last ditch effort the Colts really have in order to like salvage their season. For perspective, I think they started off 8-1. They were a top, or at least in the top 2 of all of our power rankings through like 9 weeks. I think that was the consensus across everyone. They were a good team. Daniel Jones was playing some of his best football. And then their last, I mean, they're 0-3 in their last 3. They're 1-4 in their last 5. I mean, they lost in their last 5 games. They've lost the Steelers by 7. They beat the Falcons by 6. Lost the Chiefs by 3. Lost the Texans by 4, and lost the Jags by 17. Do you think Phillip Rivers can actually make an impact on this team winning their next 4 games? And I remind you, their next 4 games are at Seattle, home against the Niners, home against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and at the Houston Texans.
Those are 4 of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah.
This is elder abuse. Will he be better than the alternative of Riley Leonard or, I guess, Tyler Warren at quarterback? Probably. That's not a high bar. Like, maybe if they can get Anthony Richardson back at some point, maybe that's a better option if he actually even wants to play anymore.
Yeah. I wonder if the Colts are just kind of done with Richardson at this point. That he'll be on the roster this year, but I wonder if they'll look to move on from him in the offseason.
Yeah, I think that experiment is pretty much over at this point. They're probably going to trade him to a team that need a quarterback, like the Raiders or the Jets. And if he goes there, then his career is done.
I'm going to be honest. I kind of have like a weird Anthony Richardson fit that could be like super, super fun, or it could make absolutely no sense. And I want your thoughts on it. And then we'll get back to like the main Colts tangent. I kind of like him with the Rams. I don't know why.
Ooh.
And again, it either on paper it makes a lot of sense or it makes absolutely no sense. Like there's not like a middle ground between that move. But I feel like now the Rams are in kind of a weird position because they'll have a top 10 pick presumably, with the Falcons being bad at football through 14 weeks. So they might not even want to trade for him because they can probably get a guy in the top 10 or top 15 anyway. But just feels like a buy low kind of guy. Maybe you can, if Stafford comes back next year, you can have him sit for another year and develop. I mean, Stafford's one of the all-time greats ever since like the 2000s. So maybe he can learn under there. But yeah, I don't know. This just feels like desperation from the Colts. I mean, again, started their season 8-1, and look at where we're at now.
Yeah, I want to actually, that fit makes a lot of sense for me. Give Anthony Richardson a year to kind of learn under Sean McVay. Maybe Matthew Stafford can give him a little bit of lesson. Like, yeah, they will be in a position to pick a quarterback probably in the top 10, or if they want to trade up, they can do that. But would you rather trade up for a guy like a Dante Moore if he doesn't go back to school, or Fernando Mendoza, who is only, I'm looking at it here, like Anthony Richardson was born May 22nd of 2002. Fernando Mendoza, October 1st, 2023. So only like a year and a half younger. Mendoza's only a year and a half younger than AR. And looking at the tools, I would definitely say Anthony Richardson is a lot more toolsy of a guy. So if you can give him a little bit to kind of figure out the accuracy or the intricacies of playing quarterback, which is something Sean McVay has proven he is very good at teaching, I really don't hate that at all, because you're really only going to have to offer up like, I don't know, at most a 4th round pick.
I don't even know if it would take that, honestly.
I know that's what the Niners got for Trey Lance, and Trey Lance put a lot less on tape than AR did.
Yeah, now Trey Lance is the backup for the Chargers, and
yeah,
essentially could have played it for.
Would you rather get AR for a 4th, or would you rather spend 2 first-round picks to go get Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore? And I think if you were the Rams, you want to add more value to your roster around Matt Stafford to try to win another ring. So getting a backup plan for a lot cheaper, I think, is a lot better of an idea to try to win right now.
Yeah, and since we're talking Rams, let's stay on that conversation a little bit. Matthew Stafford currently is leading the odds to win the MVP at -180, followed by Drake May, and then I'm going to be honest, it's just a two-man race in this year's MVP because the next closest odds are plus 1200, plus 1400, plus 7500, plus 10,000. So it's really just between Stafford and May. Um, what are your thoughts on the season that Stafford's having, considering he's 38 years old, 37 years old? I know we talked a bunch about last offseason how he could potentially want out. He wanted to be potentially traded. I know that was kind of the skirmish around the combine last year. But what are your thoughts on Stafford's potential MVP campaign this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about this a good amount through the season, but Matt Stafford is playing some of the best ball of his career at 37 years old. He is lighting it up right now, and really outside of the Panthers game has been like really has no blemishes on his resume this year. Like, take that away, he's got like what 20 something, 30 something touchdowns. Whoa.
He's first in the NFL in passing touchdowns with 35, and he's fourth in yards, fifth in QBR, and only has 4 interceptions on the season. And like you said, outside of that Panthers game 2 weeks ago, he had not thrown an interception since September 21st.
Yeah, I mean, he's killing it, and I hate it because I don't like the Rams, but I got to give respect where respect is due. He's absolutely killing it this year. I agree with the odds. I think it is either Stafford or May. If either of them win it, I won't be mad. But I will say I'm rooting for Drake May because I think it's a lot better story, and also I like the Patriots a lot more.
Yeah, it would be a pretty cool story considering how bad the Patriots have been the last few seasons. But when looking at Drake May's stats on the year, he's second in passing yards at 3,400. He's fourth in passing touchdowns at 23. Only has 6 interceptions. He's third in the NFL in QBR at 72.2. And then the thing that Drake May has over Stafford is Drake May has that running ability where he's able to get like yardage on the ground. Granted, only has 2 rushing touchdowns on the year, which is not nearly as many as I thought he had at this point in the season. But I mean, the Patriots are the hottest team in the NFL right now. They haven't lost a game since that Steelers game back in mid-September, and they've been making work of everyone on their schedule. I mean, they're at full steam right now, and Drake May is the key reason for it. And it's pretty remarkable, again, considering how bad the Patriots have been since really Belichick left, even since Brady left back in 2020. And then for them to be sitting, I know they're tied for 1 in the AFC right now, but at the top of the conference is pretty remarkable. In your opinion, at this point in the year, granted, we still have 4 weeks left to play, so there's a lot of football to happen. Who would you have as your MVP?
Right now, I think it would probably be Stafford. I think Drake May is having a heck of a year, but I think Stafford has just been on another level this year. And also, I think that's kind of the one thing Stafford is missing from his resume to make his case to be in the Hall of Fame, if he's not already, is an MVP. I think May's got a lot of time left to prove that he's going to win another MVP. And I think he definitely can and will at some point down the line in his career. But Stafford's got like 2 years left. I think if it comes down to it, I think the narrative will probably give Matt Stafford the edge if the stats won't.
Yeah, I would, at this point in the year, I'd also probably pick Stafford. As long as he keeps the low turnovers, and he's thrown an incredible amount of touchdowns at 35. I think that's first in the NFL by like a wide margin. Let me fact check myself so I don't sound like a complete fool. Yeah, he's in first in passing touchdowns by 9. So the difference between first and second is the same difference between second and 12th. So
yeah, I think a lot of that can kind of be due in part to the awesomeness that is Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams.
right.
But I mean, do you look at a situation like in Minnesota where you have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison, you have Jalen Naylor, all those receivers, and you got 9 throwing them the ball. It's not really going that well. So even if you have these great receivers, you got to have a quarterback to be able to give them the ball. And Matt Stafford is doing a fantastic job at getting them the ball and letting them do their job.
I don't disagree. We're going to go through some of the last few um, awards that are kind of like on the bubble. Uh, Offensive Player of the Year right now, it seems like the pretty heavy favorite is JSN. I don't think either one of us would disagree. Seattle's had a pretty remarkable year, and for them to be in the position they're at right now, JSN plays a huge factor in that. Uh, the next closest is like Comeback Player of the Year. It's Christian McCaffrey at 1 at minus 140, Dak Prescott at 2 at plus 120. I I don't know. That's an award. I guess Philip Rivers is third right now, plus 1,500, which would be comedy if that
If
ended up
Philip
happening.
Rivers plays 3 games and wins Comeback Player of the Year, he would have to put up like 400 yards a game to even have a conversation.
Even then, I would still give it to Dak or CMC, in my opinion.
Yeah, even then, yeah, I probably still give it to CMC just because of how good of a season he's had. Not really great rushing yards wise, but he's like top 15 in receiving yards as a running back.
Right. Yeah, and then some of these other awards, Myles Garrett is the runaway favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, rightfully so. I think he already has 20 sacks, and he has 4 games to go.
He's on track to break that sack record right now. He's putting up the stats he does in Madden.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He's minus 1,500 to win Defensive Player of the Year right now. So, for those non-degenerates out there, that means you would have to place a $1,500 wager just to win $100 if Myles Garrett ends up winning Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, for those that don't speak bet, he's winning the award.
Yeah, exactly. That's a huge favorite. Another kind of close one is Offensive Rookie of the Year. Right now, Tedero McMillan is the favorite at minus 150, followed by Jackson Dart at plus 250, and then Emeka Ibuka, Tyler Warren, Trevion Henderson, and Harold Fannin to round up the top 6. Do you agree?
Third?
Yeah. Do you agree with Tedero McMillan as the favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year?
I mean, I feel like you just can't ignore the start of the year that Emeka Ibuka had. Yeah, he's kind of cooled off a little bit now that the injuries are starting to pile on for the Bucs. And McMillan is having a heck of a year. He is a big part of the reason why the Panthers have looked as good as they have, as well as that improved defense. But Jackson Dart's been playing pretty well as well, and I know quarterbacks are going to get a lot more of the upper hand for these awards. But Emeka Ibuka at third is crazy. Like, if you want to have, God, why am I blanking on the name for first place? I'm losing my mind.
Tedero McMillan.
Yeah, if you want to have T-Mac first, I get that. Emeka Ibuka's at least got to be top 2. That feels crazy to me.
Yeah, his first half of the year, I think we all said he was like the runaway favorite, but he's kind of like teetered off at the second half of the season. But again, all this to say, with all these awards, even the MVP, like, there's a lot of football left to be played. There's a quarter of the season that still has not been decided, or just under a quarter. All the other awards aren't really close. I guess Coach of the Year, I mean, Mike Vrabel is the favorite at minus 210, followed by Mike McDonald, Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, Kyle Shanahan. Like, I mean, I think we all would agree that Mike Vrabel should win that award, considering what the Patriots were last year, picking at, 5th overall in the draft to a
4th.
Potential number 1 overall seed in the AFC.
Yeah, I agree. Vrabel should probably win it. I think Ben Johnson should be second. I mean, the Bears were last in their division last year. Granted, it was a really good division. Are we serious right now? She jumped all the way onto my desk. Leave me alone. I apologize about that. But, yeah, Ben Johnson has led the Bears to, I mean, yeah, they didn't look great last week, but really all season they've been one of the more surprising teams. So to see him at, 4th? That, again, seems pretty low odds-wise. I don't think he's going to win it. I wouldn't put money on him to win it, but he should at least be second again.
I don't disagree. That's kind of it for the awards. I mean, again, we still have a lot of season left to play, so we'll get to that when the season actually wraps up and we have a better idea for awards. But we're going to get into some of the games from this past weekend in Week 14. Did you want to talk about Thursday Night Football at all? Or should we just roll into the Sunday games and the Monday night game?
I mean, Yeah, that. If you want to, we can. But there was a lot of points scored, at least.
Yeah, if you are a fan of the Big 12, like the old Big 12, you would have loved this game. The Lions played the Cowboys in Thursday Night Football and beat them 44-30. This was just an offensive shootout. Um, Jahmyr Gibbs, while he may have not had the like rushing yardage, Jahmyr Gibbs was unreal in this game. Had 3 touchdowns and then had uh, 70 receiving yards as well. Jameson Williams is playing really well for the Cowboys, or for the Lions, excuse me. For the Cowboys, uh, kind of a quiet game for George Pickens, but a kind of like welcome to the show, or not really welcome to the show, but like a breakout game for Ryan Florney. I mean, talk about a guy that all season he played well when CD was out for a little bit, but never really got that attention. And then on Thursday Night Football, 9 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Honestly, would have been in the running for Player of the Week, but I like to have my Player of the Week actually win their matchup. So unfortunately, it was out of the running for me. But Lions get a statement win at home. I think the Lions are still out of the playoff picture as we stand at this very moment. But did this game give you any more faith in the Lions' ability to like potentially go on a run in the playoffs?
I mean, yeah, I feel like my problems with the Lions are kind of the same problems I've been having with them all year, where they'll have games where they look like world beaters, and they'll have games where they just struggle. Today they looked like world beaters, and if they can look like world beaters to the playoffs, yeah, they can make a run. But I just don't know if I have faith in them to be consistent enough to actually get a string of games together that'll help them win. Like we talked about it last week a lot with our little playoff predictor thing, but like the Lions, they don't lose back-to-back games, but they don't really seem like they want to win back-to-back games either. So we'll see if they can get more consistent, maybe string a couple together. Who knows? But I think right now, I don't know if there is a lot of football left to be played, but I don't know if there's enough football to where the cards are going to lay in their favor to be able to make the postseason.
Yeah, they're in that brutal NFC North, which is just an absolute gauntlet for all teams involved. I mean, again, we've talked about it before we started recording. That tie that the Green Bay Packers have with the Cowboys is going to mess up playoff seeding so much in the next few weeks, because right now they're sitting at second in the NFC, and a week ago when we recorded, the Bears were the number 1 overall seed in the conference, and now they're sitting at 7th. They're the last playoff team in the NFC, which is just crazy. But yeah, they got some work to do. I think there's a flaw with the current playoff format, and I know I'm not trying to make this college football talk, but why do divisions just like get an automatic bid? Like this is like no offense to Tampa, but does Tampa really deserve to be in the playoffs this year with the 7-6 record and just kind of? I mean, they were impressive at the start of the year. Don't get me wrong, but like we're gonna leave out Detroit instead of Tampa.
I think the divisions being an auto bid for the playoffs is what keeps divisions relevant in the NFL. Like
True.
you look at the NBA right now, divisions kind of just don't matter. Like
They don't.
There's not really much hatred between teams in division. There are some teams that hate each other, obviously, but like there's not as many team-to-team rivalries in other leagues as much as there is in the NFL. And I think a lot of that is because A, all division teams play each other twice a year, and B, if you win the division, you are guaranteed a home playoff game. I think that means a lot to keep the division rivalry strong. And to your point, I agree that maybe the Buccaneers don't deserve to be the 4 seed. I think kind of how the college football playoffs are right now, maybe it would be a better way to do it. Have division winners guaranteed to make the playoffs, but maybe don't have don't let a 7-6 Bucks team be projected to win or play a home playoff game.
Because
They can be the 7 seed. That's fine. But 4th is a little crazy.
well, what's crazy is like in this scenario, if the season ended today, a 10-3 Seattle team would have to go on the road and play Tampa Bay. Like,
I mean, it's the same thing last year where the 10 or 12, 13 win Vikings had to go on the road for
Right.
their playoff game
against the
and they ended
Rams.
up against the Rams. Yeah, and they lost.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't mean for this to be a college football talk, but I have plenty of issues with college football right now.
College football is buzzing right now. So
Yeah,
there's going to be a bit of overlap in how things are communicated. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it college football right now is
It's hot for all the wrong reasons.
right. There's just a lot to talk about. But that is for a different podcast. We will not be unfortunately discussing that. But yeah, I mean the Lions
just
look
not directly.
yeah. The Lions they looked good. Offense, the defense, I will always still have concerns about the defense with the Lions. That has just always been the case. Last year more so than this year. This year they've kind of like turned my opinion on their defense, but yeah, I mean still allowing 30 points to the Cowboys isn't great, but you can't really complain too much when you end up getting the win. So kudos to the Lions for that one. Potential game of the year candidate, as Braden quoted before we started recording, in Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals lose to the Bills 39-34. A Josh Allen masterclass ensued on Sunday, and a heroic comeback by the Bills, forcing some turnovers on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow played perfect, other than 2 throws the entire game. The one pick was the pick 6 to Christian Benford.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, like Cincinnati. I think when I was out of town, so I was just checking the score on my phone, not watching it. And then I saw Cincinnati was up 28-18 in the fourth quarter. I'm like, oh, Cincinnati's probably gonna hold on for this. And then Josh Allen, heroic, 40-yard scrambling touchdown, and then 2 minutes later, the 63-yard pick 6 that kind of didn't really ice the game, but it gave the Bills control of the game. Did this game? How do I want to phrase this? Did this game give you reason to still believe that the Bills will figure it out? Is I guess the way I want to phrase that.
I think I get what you're going for with that.
Yeah. Words were hard, and that I just couldn't think of anything.
I get you. I struggle with that often, as I'm sure avid listeners will be able to attest to. I really don't know, man. I mean, it's the same thing with where they were down by. It's the same thing as week 1, where they were down by so much with so little time left, and then they stormed back and won. And it was like, holy cow, that comeback was incredible. But then now that we're later in the year with the context, it's like, what? How and why were you down that many points to that team? And it's the same thing here. How do you only have 18 points on the Bengals that late in the game? That defense, if you need a reminder, sucks. And you have Josh Allen and James Cook. Granted, the receivers, not great, but you have Josh Allen, so that doesn't really matter too much.
I know about the receivers. I have Khalil Shakir in fantasy. And because my receivers are just so bad, he always ends up having to start for me. And he will have games like against the Houston Texans where he has like 24 points. And it's like, oh my God, Khalil Shakir is wide receiver 1. And then he just has games like, was it last week where he had 1 catch for -3 yards? It's like, dude, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? But
again, a topic I think we've discussed ad nauseum on this podcast is that Buffalo Bills receiver room. It is, in theory, should be fine, and then they actually play, and it's like, oh, does Keon Coleman deserve to be on an NFL field? Like, is Khalil Shakir actually like capable of being a rotational wide receiver? Like rotational, yeah, but he's your wide receiver 1. That is a problem.
Right. And in my opinion, I think this kind of puts the nail in the coffin on the Bengals season right now. I
I,
guess with how bad the AFC North is, they could potentially still like win the division, but I think this kind of like was the end for the Bengals, if that makes sense.
yeah, I think the nail in the coffin was the final nail was placed a long time ago.
Yeah.
Uh, the
It just
Joe
wasn't hammered
Burrow,
in until Sunday.
yeah, Burrow coming back really did nothing but make some knocking in from inside the coffin. It made it seem like there was maybe a little bit of life, but there never truly was.
No. This team just the entire Joe Burrow tenure has just never really had a defense like at all. I mean, their one okay defense was the year they went to the Super Bowl, but since then, I mean, since Eli Apple really talking all that crap like 2 or 3 years ago, the Bengals defense has just not been relevant at all. So
Yeah. Yeah, all
probably
Joe Burrow coming back did. The only season that saved was my fantasy team. That's that's the only
yeah,
season Joe Burrow's saving by coming back.
yeah. We got a couple more games we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get into Player of the Week power rankings. We're going to talk about a game that you would have told me before the week that we were going to be talking a lot about this game. Would not have believed you in the slightest. But we're talking about Titans versus Browns. Titans defeat the Browns 31-29 and act in like one of the more fun games like I've seen. Something about like bad teams like playing really well against each other is like kind of funny to watch. And both rookie quarterbacks from this past draft class got to start. Cam Ward obviously for the Titans and Shedeur Sanders for the Browns. Um, yeah, man, I don't even know. What are your thoughts on this game? I mean, I have I have quite a few, but I want you to start with this one.
Yeah, I'm going to try to talk a little bit about the Titans in this one because I think most, if not all, of the conversation around this is on the Browns. We will cover that. I assure you, we will cover that. But I do want to give the Titans their props. Scoring 31 points on the Browns defense is not a feat many teams can do. And the fact that the Tennessee Titans were able to pull that off is very impressive. I tip my cap. I mean, Cam Ward had a good game. He had 14 for 20. Maybe not a great stats wise game, but I mean, through 2 touchdowns, only had 1 pick. I mean, yeah, Pollard really was the main reason why I think they won this game. Well, not the main reason, but the reason why they were in the game to begin with
Right.
161 yards, 2 touchdowns. But yeah, I think that's probably about where all of my positives end for this game. Well, not end, because Shedeur Sanders had himself a
Right.
fantastic game. Started kind of iffy, but that second half comeback was electric. You're down 8, 2 minutes left. They drove down the field. That final touchdown to the back of the end zone to Harold Fannin was an absolute dart. That throw right there, it like made me like Ratatouille flashback to before the draft, talking about how Shedeur Sanders is like good. Maybe not like first round talent good, but is probably still QB2 in the draft class. Like has potential to be an NFL starter. And it made me kind of realize that maybe I've just been a little bit too much of a hater because I have Dylan Gabriel in fantasy. Maybe I need to step back and be like, okay, maybe I need to stop being so pessimistic on him because he looks good. I'll admit it. He looks really good.
Yeah.
He looks like he could actually hang in the NFL. I was able to come to that realization. You know who wasn't? Kevin Stefanski. You just watched your young quarterback storm this team back. You're now down 2. He just scored the touchdown. So you're in your all-knowing wisdom, your play to tie this game up, to send it to overtime against all odds, is to pull the guy that just dragged your team back from the depths to run a DIY reverse out of Wildcat, expecting Quinshon Judkins to take the snap.
Two-time NFL Coach of the Year, by the way, Kevin Stefanski.
2-time NFL Coach of the Year, Kevin
Two-time.
Stefanski. Two-time NFL Coach of the Year Kevin Stefanski runs a DIY reverse sweep without a Wildcat to tie this game up. And Quinshon Judkins, as good of a rookie year as he also had, there's a reason why he's not taking snaps, ladies and gentlemen. The play design was for him to take the snap, run to the right. The receiver, I think it was Isaiah Bond, goes around like a reverse. It's a Wildcat reverse. You know the play. The running back takes the snap, runs a couple steps, and then pitches it to the receiver. Hopefully, catches the defense off guard, and the receiver runs in the end zone. Quinshon Judkins does not pitch the ball. He realizes about 2 steps too late. Oh wait, I needed to pitch this. I have it in my hand still. Freaks out, tries to chuck it across the field, and bounces off of 2 defenders. Somehow isn't like a pick 2. But,
right.
I mean, if it worked, cool. Would have been a sick play. You can't call that play. That's a play you call like in the first quarter of the Super Bowl, maybe. Not just trying to show off. That's not a play to win the game when you desperately need anything to make your fans feel good about themselves.
There's also another element. Maybe you run that play if Judkins is just having a monster game. No one can tackle Quinshon, and maybe Quinshon could keep it, go around the edge, and break the pylon for the 2-point. But you look at Quinshon's stats. I mean, he had 14 carries for 26 yards on the ground. Granted, he did have 1 reception for 58 yards. So, kind of boosted his stats a little bit there. But, just objectively did not have it going that day. And like you mentioned, to take the ball out of Shedur's hands when he was the reason the Browns were in this situation, to come back, potentially tie this ball game up, it's pretty insane, pretty wild in my opinion.
It's flat out coaching malpractice.
Yeah.
Do you know how brain dead of a play you have to call for me to side with the Shedeur Sanders Glazers that have been saying that the Browns were out to get him from the start, that Kevin Stefanski actually hates their team and wants them to suffer as much as possible because they have to start Shedeur Sanders? You can't watch that play and how that game turned out and that play and not at least be able to hear him out a little bit. That is insane.
Yeah.
Do you fire a coach, first of all, off of 1 play? No. And with the resume that he has, probably not. But I think that's the play that we're going to, in 14 months, if Kevin Stefanski no longer has a job, I think we can look back to that play as the beginning of the end. That's going to be my official take.
Yeah, and it's a shame because the game that he had, 23-42, didn't have the greatest completion percentage, but didn't really matter. He had 360 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and then also added a rushing touchdown in the game, which is something we didn't really see much of at Colorado. So for him to use his legs and pick up a score with it was huge for the Browns. But yeah, I don't get it. You're taking the ball out of your best player, or at that moment in time, probably your best player. The way he was playing that last drive, like you mentioned, for you to give it to a guy that just was objectively not on, or was just not playing great that day, is pretty baffling in my opinion. But any other games you would like to talk about before we get into the game that I do not want to talk about?
Do we want to talk about Monday night? It did go into overtime.
Let's talk Monday night, and then we'll get to the giant elephant in the room. A nasty game ensued on Monday Night Football between the Chargers and the Eagles. Was it 7 turnovers? I think was the final 8 turnovers. Excuse me, 8 turnovers were in this game because the last pick that Jalen Hurts had. This game did go to overtime, like Braden mentioned. Chargers win 22-19. An absolute slugfest of a game. What were your thoughts on this game? Hurts had he just objectively had a terrible game.
That is the worst game Jalen Hurts has ever had. I think that is the first game. I think that I don't know if it's franchise history, but one of the first, at least in a long time, for an Eagle to have 5 turnovers in a game.
Not only
And
5 turnovers in a
probably
game,
one.
2 in one play.
Yeah, how do you even pull that off? Threw a pick, a fumble got forced somehow on the return. Hurts picks it up and then fumbles it. Had a pick and a fumble in the same play.
RIP to anyone that has Jalen Hurts in fantasy, because that play costed whoever had him 4 points.
I think somebody in one of my fantasy leagues, I think he had like 0.4 fantasy points. Which, if you have anybody on the Eagles in fantasy not named A.J. Brown, even then, like A.J. Brown sucked to start the year, but ever since then, the Eagles have only had one drive script, and I think we all know what it is.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like the Eagles finally got a good Saquon game for the first time in a long time. Like Saquon had that electric 52-yard touchdown run. I mean, I thought that like when that happened, I'm like, oh, Philly's winning this game for sure. Like, because that touchdown happened with, let me fact check myself. It's right as the fourth quarter, but it just felt like neither team could really get like a drive to like continue. And when that happened, I'm like, oh, Eagles are just gonna run down the clock and end up winning this game by 3. But just a nasty game by the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's not like the Chargers wanted to win this game either. Like that's the notion and the storyline that's just going to go under and it's just going to go away. We're never going to talk about it again. But the Chargers tried to lose this game too. Like Herbert had a pretty bad pick, and then Herbert could not complete passes to save his life. And I need to pull up the picture of his like O-line and like their PFF grades. Granted, I don't really care for PFF, but if you've seen that picture on Twitter where it's like,
the one thing I will give PFF credit for is they usually know what they're talking about with offensive lines.
Right.
Like their entire offensive line on that graphic was like 35th or lower, which for those unaware, there are 32 teams in the NFL. So 32 would be the worst starter.
Yeah. And although
these were ranked like position by position, it's not like tackle is like
right.
out of 70. It's out of like 37 or so left tackles, or like out of 36 left guards, all across. I think they maybe had one that was like 20th.
Yeah, and
the rest were below 32.
This was, I mean, like I said, Herbert took 7 sacks for 33 yards lost, but he also was the leading rusher for the Chargers with a broken wrist. Pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable for Justin Herbert. And again, offense was just super nasty in this game. I guess A.J. Brown and Saquon had okay games. Dallas Goedert had a decent game. But literally no one else in this game was happy with the result. It was just gross. I would like to not talk about this game anymore. But now we get to the elephant in the room. A certain game happened on Sunday Night Football that I have been dreading talking about since it happened and since it concluded. Texans defeat the Chiefs 20-10 in Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday Night Football. Yeah. I want you to go first because obviously I'm the Chiefs fan of the show, so I have my strong opinions about this game. But my main question for you is, the Chiefs are finally cooked, right?
You know, I will forever and always struggle to answer that question because it feels like every year you ask that question for longer and longer and longer into the season, and then the answer is somehow always no. But I don't know how you can have watched the game we just watched and answer that with a yes. It felt like at every turn, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's the Chiefs. They're gonna do their usual Chiefs magic, and it's gonna go well. And then they would get into position for their usual Chiefs magic, and then they would just poop themselves live on TV. Like every single thing that usually lines up in the Chiefs' favor didn't. They weren't really getting anything going. Like they were getting all the calls against them. Butker missed that kick wide right. Travis Kelce pulled his best. You would have thought he was an undercover FBI agent for the Texans with that play where he literally had it in his hands, threw it up in the air, and then Azeez Al-Shire caught it off the tip. That fully lost them the game. Rashee Rice couldn't catch a cold in 20-degree weather. Mahomes was missing passes all over the place. Their defense really couldn't do much of anything. Their secondary was getting cooked all game. Like Nico Collins, I think, had probably definitely over 100 yards, maybe even close to 150. I don't know what the final number was. 120 something? Yeah. I mean, all around, this might be the worst game I've seen out of the Kansas City Chiefs in the Patrick Mahomes era. Like this was flat out awful. Like this is the type of game that ends dynasties, really. And I hate saying that because I know the second I say it, they're gonna figure it out and snap of a finger, they're gonna just turn back to the regular Chiefs and all hell's gonna break loose again. But it's like the only guy that could get anything going was a 31-year-old Kareem Hunt averaging like 2.6 yards a carry. That was about it. The floor is yours.
I want to preface this by saying I am a Chiefs fan. I will forever be a Chiefs fan, and I will always believe my team has a chance.
He was in attendance for this game, by the way.
Yeah, I made the trek to see this team because I'm like, you know what? Season on the line, I would like to say that I'm there. While I think their playoff chances are not entirely cooked, I think they could still. There's a scenario out there. I know it's like less than 15 or 20%, but like it's really like not super complicated what they need to do. They need to win out. They need to have the Chargers drop a couple games, have the Colts drop a couple games. That's really all they need to do to make the playoffs. With that being said, their chances of actually doing anything in the playoffs are zilch. They're zero, nada. There's nothing. This team is usually good at home, but Sunday's game was just terrible on every facet of the ball. This team on the road is objectively a bad football team. I think they're 1-5 on the road. And if not for their next two games in the road, which will boost that record up, which is the Titans, who we just spent a lot of time talking about, who looked okay, and then the Raiders, who division games are always tough. But this team, when it comes to winning a Super Bowl or even making a Super Bowl, that's done. At least this year's team is done. I mean, if they end up going on some crazy heater, and I would love to be wrong, and I will always have faith that this team could like still make the playoffs. And I still think there's a legitimate chance. I know it's not like they don't control their own destiny by any means, but like it's not impossible for them to be the 7 seed. But this team has so many issues right now that every facet of the ball lost them the game on Sunday night. The offense could not catch a pass to save their life. Kelce finally looks like he's 36 years old or 35 years old. He finally looks his age. Like, Sunday was just an objectively terrible game for Kelce. The defense, they played well in the third quarter. I think the stat was they forced 4 3-and-outs in the third quarter, and then one drive where the Texans had 5 plays and then immediately punted. So the defense played well. Chris Jones, shout out to him. He balled out. He was the only member of the core, like the Mount Rushmore of current Chiefs, that actually wanted to win that game. And then Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I am the biggest Patrick Mahomes defender. I will always go to bat for Patrick Mahomes. That being said, it was probably the worst game I've ever seen him play in the NFL. And I know not all of it was his fault, and I know he's on his third string left tackle, but he just objectively did not play great. He's underthrowing receivers. He's overthrowing receivers. He's throwing into double coverage to Juju Smith-Schuster, which gets batted up and gets a pick. Like, just objectively, not a great game whatsoever. It's just super frustrating because, like, the Andy Reid 4th and 1 on your own 31 is one of the more mind-boggling decisions I think I've seen an NFL head coach ever make. Like, don't get me wrong, he would have looked like an absolute hero had they picked up that 4th down. And frankly, they should have picked up that 4th down. Like, that hit Rashee Rice, or I think it was Rashee Rice, in the midst. Like maybe not the greatest play call, but should have worked. And then they had another 4th down, I think earlier or later in the game. I think it was later in the game. That probably should have converted. But it was just a combination of every aspect of the Chiefs dynasty as we see it. Just completely failed them on Sunday. And granted, kudos to the Texans. They have arguably, I would say, the best defense, or at least a top 3 defense in the NFL. Their ability to generate pressure is pretty remarkable, and their ability to stop the run is pretty nuts. But let's switch to the Houston side of this. What are your thoughts on the Texans right now as a whole? Because they're on a little bit of a winning streak. I believe they've won 5 in a row after losing to Denver by 3. But what are your thoughts on Houston right now?
Yeah, I mean, Houston looks incredible right now. Their defense obviously hasn't been the problem this whole time. They've been locked down all season. CJ Stroud, before he got hurt, he was looking like his sophomore self, where he was kind of in a slump, couldn't really make it work. And then he kind of got hurt. I don't know what happened. Maybe he was watching Davis Mills and realized maybe I don't need to put the team on my back. Maybe I can just let the defense cook and whatever I can do kind of just happens. But this has been the CJ Stroud we thought we were getting after year 1. Ever since he came back, he's been cooking. Like the offense is firing on all cylinders. The Cyclone receivers are going off. Nico Collins, like I said, is going crazy. Even the run game looks pretty good right now. Woody Marks is doing all right. His yards per carry isn't great, but he's doing what he's got to do to win. Yeah, I mean, this team looks really good right now. And I honestly, backdoor Texans win the division is not off the table at all.
I mean, here are their last 4 games for a quick refresher. They do play Brock's Arizona Cardinals on Sunday, which
a win.
Yeah. Then they're at home against the Raiders. Need I say more?
Win.
They're at the Chargers.
Okay.
And then they're hosting Indianapolis. So they have 3 home games in their next 4. And 2 of them are against teams that will be picking in the top of the draft, in the Cardinals and the Raiders. So there's a potential they could go on a nice little 9-game winning streak to close out their season, considering all the close losses they had to start the year. A 5-point loss to the Rams, a 1-point loss to the Bucks, a 7-point loss to the Jags, 8-point loss to the Seahawks, 3-point loss to the Broncos. Like, all their losses are to, like, some of the better teams in the NFL. I think all teams with a winning record, for that matter. But they're a good team. I don't want that to get lost in my frustration of Kansas City and their just abysmal performance on Sunday. But yeah, they certainly are a team. This is the team we thought we were going to get before the season, if that makes sense. Like, this is the team we had been wanting to see since, like Braden mentioned, since Stroud's rookie year. And like you said, kudos to Woody Marks. Doing this in absence of Joe Mixon. I think Mixon's been officially ruled out for the year, correct?
I think he's been out for the season. Yeah. And I think a lot of Woody Marks' struggles, I mean, I guess we don't have enough of a sample size with a good offensive line to know if he is a back that can get you 4 or 5 yards a carry. But that offensive line, like we've said all season, like we said in the preseason, ever since Laramie Tunsil got traded and even before, this offensive line is just flat out not good.
Yeah. And even when Woody Marks had to leave the game in the fourth quarter, I think they thought he had a concussion, so they took him out for a play. Agumbawale was able to first play the entire game for him. He's able to take a 5-yard rush all the way to the house for a touchdown, which basically was the nail in the coffin for the Chiefs in that game. But it's bad for the Chiefs in a game when Patrick Mahomes has as many receptions as Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
I remind you, Patrick Mahomes had 1 reception for negative 10 yards, and the only reason that counts as a reception is because he threw it, it got batted, he caught it, and lost 10 yards. That's the only reason that's is confirmed as a catch.
Yeah, I mean, you might not have noticed it if for fantasy nerds out there if you play in a PPR league because that amounted to 0 points.
Right.
But I assure you that did not amount to 0 points actually playing the game.
No, he had as many receptions as the following receivers in the Chiefs game: Juju, Travis Kelce, like I mentioned, Noah Gray, and Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
Not great. And again, Brock keeps hammering this drum and has really since the beginning of November. The Chiefs not wanting to part ways with a 3rd or 4th round pick for Breece Hall is simple malpractice, because while Kareem Hunt has been good in certain situations for Kansas City, he's good, like Braden said, he's good for like 2.5 yards a carry at this point. He's 31 years old. You can't rely a bunch on Kareem Hunt at this point in his career. And I think that the Chiefs are like done with Isaiah Pacheco. I don't know if he's still hurt or what's the case, but it feels like his tenure with Kansas City could be up relatively soon. So, but yeah, that's really all we have, unless you have anything else to add from this game or really just this week.
Only other thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned that the Chiefs were down to their 3rd string tackles. I do want to give a shout out to the 3rd string left tackle for the Chiefs. Esa Pole. Maybe not as much down the stretch, but for the first 3.5, like the 2.5, 3 quarters, Danielle Hunter was pretty much a non-factor this game because of the work of Esa Pole. He had him in a chokehold, not literally, but he held him to pretty much nothing. So to get that out of a guy you spent nothing on, was an undrafted free agent, was on the Jets practice squad, I think, to start the year, found his way back on the Chiefs, and actually played a really big role in making sure Mahomes didn't turn into a literal puddle in the backfield. So I had to give my credit where I think it's due.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. He played really well, especially with Wanya Morris going out on the literal first play of the game. Like no exaggeration, the exact first play of the game when they started off with the run to Isaiah Pacheco. But yeah, he played really well for an undrafted guy. And I don't want to make this an excuse, but I remind everyone out there that is a potential Chiefs hater, and maybe just a Patrick Mahomes hater. Mahomes in this game was down to his 3rd string left tackle, his 2nd string guard on both sides, and had Jalen Moore, who, like, what did you always say about Jalen Moore? He always looked good because he was playing next to Trent Williams.
Well, Jalen Moore wasn't even the one. He was playing behind Trent Williams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he never really even played.
True. But, yeah. I'll leave my final thoughts on the Chiefs, and then we'll get to Player of the Week Power Kings in a second. This team, I think, could still make the playoffs. They need a lot of help, but this team actually winning a Super Bowl, that's done this year. And the dynasty is not done. Like, there have been years, heck, in Brady's first 4 years with the Patriots, they won 3 Super Bowls, granted. Yeah, the second year after their first one, they missed the playoffs entirely. So this dynasty is done talk. Let's put a pin in it, and let's circle back to next year if the same thing happens next year. Is all I'll leave it with. But we are now going to get into Player of the Week and Power Rankings. Let's start off with Player of the Week honors for Week 14, which is pretty crazy at this point in the year. But Braden, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I floated a couple options for my player of the week this week, but eventually I did land on Josh Allen. He's been my player of the week a couple times already this year, but in a game where the Bills needed as many points as possible to come back and win that game, Josh Allen had accounted for all of the touchdowns except for the Christian Benford pick six. So, I mean, on top of the 4 touchdowns, 329 total yards, QBR 96.4. He's been proving week in and week out that he is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, if not, I mean, top 3 at least. Just, again, another great performance. You question, I mean, yeah, it is the Bengals defense and they do suck. And they only had 18 points for a good chunk of that game. But when they needed him the most, he was able to perform. So I got to tip my cap there.
Brock is not here tonight, like I mentioned earlier in the pod. He's actually was at the Cy-Hawk game for women's basketball tonight. But his player of the week honors, he went with Puka Nacua. Puka had a spectacular game on Sunday against his Arizona Cardinals. 167 receiving yards, had 2 receiving touchdowns, and had 7 receptions. As a smart fantasy owner like myself, I had the stack of Stafford and Puka this week, which was quite well.
So you won.
Yeah, I won 140-80. If that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason I'm second place in my fantasy leagues right now. So, shout out Puka Nacua for that. But moving into my player of the week honors, this guy, like I mentioned to Braden, I totally forgot this guy was still on this team before we started recording. But I'm going with Tony Pollard as my player of the week honors. He was a big part in the Titans getting a win against the Browns. Granted, did the Titans really want to win that game? That remains to be seen.
I mean, probably not, but you know.
But Tony Pollard was balling out for him. Like I said, 161 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and averaging 6.4 yards per carry, which is pretty unreal for the running back position, especially like Braden mentioned earlier in the pod against a great Browns defense that doesn't really get gashed too often. So for Pollard to have this big of a game and lead the Titans to win, I thought was well worthy of player of the week honors. We're now moving into power rankings for this week. Braden, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so sort of just sticking with the same formula I have pretty much all season. I have the Patriots sticking at number 1. They didn't play this week, but that also means they didn't lose. So unless something drastic happens during the season, during the week, they're probably not going to drop. They don't drop here. Same thing with Denver. They won their game. It was closer than it probably should have been against the Raiders, but, you know, a win is a win. I can't really punish you too much for it. And then I had the Bears number 3 last week. Of course, they lost, so my 4 and 5 last week jump up to 3 and 4. Rams, I mean, you played the Cardinals. That's basically a bye week in the NFC as far as NFC West teams go. But they did look really good against the Cardinals. And Puka Nacua went off. That whole offense went crazy. Shout out Blake Corum as well. He had a hell of a game himself. And then Seattle at number 4. I'm blanking on who they played or if they even had a game, but Falcons. I know they didn't. Which one?
The Falcons.
The Falcons. Yes, of course. How could I possibly forget? But, I mean, again, not exactly the toughest opponent this season, but they still – you do enough to win games, you're not going to get punished for it. So they rise up because our number 3 spot jumped out of the top 5. Thanks in part to my new number 5, the Green Bay Packers. I have been a little bit lower on this team than I think the other 2 members of this podcast have been really ever since I had them projected to make my Super Bowl. I think I put a lot more against them for the tie than I really probably should have. The Cowboys don't look like a bad team necessarily, but anytime you tie, I'm generally just going to be mad at you because I think a tie
looks gross.
It looks gross and it just is bad for the sport.
I mean, look at what I have to do on the graphic now when any of us put the Packers in. I have to make a little asterisk.
Look what you've done. You made our poor graphic boy have to put an asterisk. How
I
dare
know
you?
it's crazy. I looks
His
icky.
job's hard enough, man.
Yeah, it is. I already forget to do a lot of the graphics and post them throughout the week.
But
But
I will say, I've said a lot. This team's either going to look both them and the Lions kind of share the same sort of flaw. I'll say maybe where they're either going to look like world beaters or they're going to lose to the Browns. So, more recently than not, more often than not, recently, words are hard for us today, guys. I don't know
yeah,
what's going on, but more often than not, recently they've been winning the games instead of losing them. Jordan Love is looking like a really, really good quarterback right now. They're figuring it out with the receivers. Christian Watson's had a pretty good string of games here. Their defense is figuring it out. Just all around, this is the team I kind of expected to see to start the year. And it was at the beginning. And then I really, ever since the Browns game, it feels like I've had questions about them that I think they are starting to finally answer.
yeah, they are one of the most high variance teams in the NFL. Where again, if they've lost games 13-10 to the Browns, like you mentioned, and then they win absolute shootouts against the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. So like, not really, you don't really know what you're getting Sunday to Sunday with this team. But obviously, Brock is not here, and yes, I have a mistake on my graphic. Texans did not move down; they moved up. So I just want to preface that. But starting from 5-1, Brock has the Houston Texans at number 5. He has the Los Angeles Rams at number 4, the Seattle Seahawks at number 3, the Denver Broncos at 2, the New England Patriots at number 1. So we will see, because I think we all pretty much have similar top 3s for that matter, at least top 2s. We will see if the curse lives on, because I'm keeping the Patriots at 1. And when all 3 of us have the same team as number 1, they typically lose. I don't know who the Patriots play. I think it's the Bills.
I think it is the Bills. Oh no!
Oh, it's the Bills.
Oh,
So
that
smart
does not make me feel
money
good.
is going to pick the Bills to win this game. But yeah, from 5-1, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars sneaking into my top 5. I think this is the first time I've had the Jags in my top 5 since like week 5 maybe.
I think since the Chiefs game, I think probably.
Yeah, they just have been like kind of meandering around like mid, and then they looked good these last few weeks. So I figured I'd throw them in to top 5. An underrated storyline of the season for them, the Jacoby Myers trade, which didn't really get like any headlines at the moment. He looks really, really good for the Jags. And granted, I don't think Trevor's playing like amazing by any stretch, but they're running the ball really effectively, and their defense plays well enough for them to win games. So for that reason, I have the Jags at number 5. I think me and Braden share the same opinions about the Packers, so I won't talk about them too much. And then I have the Rams at 3. I think the Rams right now are the team I have the most confidence in to win the Super Bowl at this moment in time. But they've had some games where it's just like, what are we doing? They had that Thursday night goofy game against the Niners where they probably should have won that one, but they ended up not. And then they had that game against the Panthers that just as big of a Panthers supporter that I am, it's not a great look. Not a great
Not a
look.
game you should be losing.
Right. Denver, man, I'm going to be honest. I know that Denver keeps winning, and I'm going to seem like a hypocrite but they just don't look good. I'm sorry. But because they're 11-2, I feel like obligated to keep them at like a top 2 team. Kind of like the same reasons of like the Colts for the longest time. Like I didn't want to put the Colts as high as we had them at some point in the power rankings, but they kept winning games, so you can't really penalize a team for winning games. But in no world should the Broncos be in like an absolute dogfight with the Raiders with no Geno. Granted,
This is the second time that this has happened this season, by the way, where the Broncos win a game by 1 possession against the Raiders.
like Kenny Pickett had to play a lot of this game. Like what are we doing here? I mean, I know that they're 11-2, and I know they're the number one seed in the AFC right now, and they're on what 8-game winning streak? I think 9-game winning streak. No, I'm sorry, 10. They won
Yeah,
10
they're
in a
on a
row.
10 because they started the year 1 and
Sorry.
2.
Yeah,
They haven't lost since week 3.
you're right. Their last 4 games, they play at home against the Packers, at home against the Jags, at Kansas City on Christmas, and then home against the Chargers. So we'll see. Maybe this team could be 15-2, 14-3. They keep winning these very close games because you look at their schedule and who they've played and who they've beaten. They've pretty much had a one-score game in their wins in all but like 2 games. Their only like blowout games they've had was the either Sunday night football or Monday night game against the Bengals where they won 28-3, and then when they like throttled the Cowboys 44-24. So, we'll see. I'm not a huge believer in this team, to put it lightly. And then can't penalize the Patriots. They didn't play this past week, so didn't feel right for them to move down. But the curse of all of us having them as number 1 will probably result in the Patriots dropping this game on Sunday to the Buffalo Bills. Granted, it is in Gillette Stadium, so we'll see about that. But is there anything else you would like to add, Braden, on this episode? Any games you're looking forward to this upcoming weekend?
I mean, as far as games I'm looking forward to, yeah, that Bills-Patriots game looks like it's going to be really good. Thursday night is Falcons-Bucks, so I guess you can kind of do whatever you want there. Commanders-Giants, if you're interested in Tank Bowl action.
Hey, we
do get Marcus Mariota again.
We can't hate on the Tank Bowl too much because Browns-Titans was one of the more entertaining games of the year. So
that was. And then Packers-Broncos is going to be a good one. Lions-Rams. Colts-Seahawks could be a fun one to watch just because I feel like we're going to be looking – it's going to be like the Royal Rumble, trying to figure out what quarterback's going to walk out of the tunnel for the Colts this week.
Yeah.
Whether it be Phillip Rivers, whether Riley Leonard gets the okay, if Tyler Warren takes snaps, we'll see what happens there. And then, yeah, the Monday night game, Dolphins-Steelers.
But that Monday night game, I mean, Pittsburgh is what, first in the division right now? Because they beat the Ravens on Sunday?
Yeah, they are first in the AFC North right now.
So if the Steelers want to keep a hold of that division lead, they're going to need to win that game against Miami. And Miami has won 4 in a row. Kind of an underrated little storyline. We haven't talked much Dolphins at all, really, since the Tyreek injury. But they've been, like, okay since the trade deadline, if that makes sense, when they traded everyone away.
They're also playing, like,
tomato cans.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Their games that's the Jets, Saints, Commanders. They did beat the Bills 30-13. So that is a big point to make there, I guess. But outside of that, yeah, there's been about no competition on this win streak. So we'll see if there's any substance to it. But I doubt
it. Dawson's Nito stat of the day. The AFC North, no team has a positive point differential.
I believe that. I absolutely believe that.
And who do you think has a worse point differential, the Bengals or the Browns?
Ooh, I feel like it's got to be the Bengals because the Browns at least have a good enough defense to keep it close.
The Bengals' point differential is -99. The Browns' point differential is -78.
Wow.
And again,
wow.
Point differential doesn't mean like anything because the Chiefs this year, who have a losing record, have a point differential of +63. So, yeah, I point differential doesn't mean anything, but just
it's not nothing, but also it's not the end all be all.
Right. I don't disagree. But that's going to be it for this week's episode of the Between the Hashes podcast here on the 515 Podcast Network, recapping Week 14. Watching me be very sad when it comes to watching football. Anything else that we kind of covered in this episode, Braden? Philip Rivers getting signed by the Colts.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We're starting to get to the point where I think we kind of have a right idea of how the playoffs are going to shape up. At least some teams that are going to make it, some teams that are really going to have to turn it around to make it happen. It's crazy to think it is December 10th, 2025 as we record this. The year wasn't necessarily, it's December 10th.
Right.
And the Chiefs are currently under 500. It's not impossible for them to make the playoffs, but their ceiling right now, if they win out, is going, 10-7?
10-7.
Is 10-7 enough to secure a wild card spot? Probably
We'll
not.
find out. You will know, because I think that they theoretically could get mathematically eliminated this weekend if they lost and every other team ahead of them won. But
I think in this one, if you lose, in general, that's just over.
Yeah. We will see. We will see. It maybe potentially next episode I'm in Cancun, sipping on a nice pina colada in the sand. But we will find out. For Braden, for myself, Dawson Livingston, we are signing off here on the Between the Hashes podcast on the 515 Podcast Network.